Hello, everyone. When I was a little boy, I used to have a lot of trouble when I was sleeping at night. And while I didn't have a word for it at the time, it turns out that I used to suffer from insomnia. This was incredibly frustrating, as you can probably imagine, being a young child. And you're laying in bed, and all you want to do is hit the pillow and close your eyes and have it be done, but you can't sleep. So what do you do at that point? For me, I sought comfort. And how I did this is the way that most young children do. I sought out my mother. So when I couldn't sleep, I would climb out of bed, I'd tiptoe down the hall, and I'd hop in bed with my mom, and she'd always be watching the Food Network. Excuse me. So she'd be watching the Food Network, and this is the way that I would start getting comfort from not being able to sleep, and we'd watch it until the wee hours of the morning until I could finally go to bed. And then when I got older, I eventually would end up just going out into the living room, and I'd plop down on the sofa, and I'd watch the Food Network out there until I eventually passed out there. But through all of this, I was able to hone a passion for cooking and food. And about 10 years later, I started developing another passion of mine in my mid-teens, and that was how can we solve the world's issues? How can we fix problems that we're facing today as a culture and as a society? So this was forever planted in my mind at the South by Southwest conference, and without further ado, I'm here to talk to you about food, technology, and how they can come together to help solve some of the issues that we face today as a society. So you heard in brief about the South by Southwest conference from Dr. Stewart a moment ago. When I was there, my primary focus was in the food and experiential dining portion of the conference, but I also hopped into the global impact and policy sessions because it's something that I was particularly passionate about. And the question was always posed in my mind, how can food change the world? How can we change the world through what we consume? There were many answers to this at the conference. One of the first ones was looking towards local farming on a mass scale. So this meant that we would all be getting our produce and our ingredients for what we'd be cooking with from local farmers, and we probably know all these people on a first-name basis just because we come from our region. The second proposition that would come forward was developments of the modern market. So as we became more educated as consumers, we would change the way the markets adapt to what we need by showing them that we want things that are more sustainable, that are healthier, and then that would affect the way that the market would produce food for us. But finally, and the most interesting to me, was biotechnology. We all have a lot of reservations, I'm sure, about what biotechnology is. This image came to mind for me. We think about changing the way that food is structured, and then what does that mean for us as consumers when we put it into our body. A lot of people think that it's something that isn't healthy, or that there could be some very negative effects to it. And I'm not here to argue on one side or the other about what it means to have a genetically modified organism, because I'm not here to talk about GMOs in a traditional sense, where it affects grain production or soybeans or something like that. I'm here to talk to you about a very particular product and a very particular company called MooFree. So I'm going to break this down for you really quickly. MooFree is moo free, and it's about milk without the cow. So your face probably looks like this, and you're thinking, how do you make milk without a cow? That doesn't make sense at all, and it sure as heck isn't natural. But I'll tell you right now, if you knew more about the milk production process as it stands right now, you'd probably think that wasn't very natural either. So how is this done? How do you make milk without a cow? Well, there are guys in the lab right now that are working to find ways to produce milk, taking the animal aspect out of it. And they're working at synthesizing milk so that it mimics the taste, texture, and protein structure of milk. And so far, the results are very promising. The product is yeast-based, and the final product will maintain the necessary essential proteins, fats, minerals, and sugars to mimic the taste and textures and structures of milk. And although the proteins in MooFree come from a yeast, the fats come from vegetables, and they're tweaked at a molecular level, so this is the biotechnology aspect of it, to mirror the structure and flavor of milk fats. And then minerals like calcium and potassium are added later, and sugars as well are added later. And as these come together in the final product, they naturally emulsify and create the product that we come to know as milk today. And the founder of MooFree says, and that's actually the founder in the middle of the screen right here, he says that if we want to change the world and its diet from a product that isn't sustainable to something that is, it has to be identical to or better than the original product. The world will not switch from milk from a cow to plant-based milk products. But if cowless milk is identical and priced right, they just might. And for me, this means that the future for boo-free and animal-free milk products is very promising because they can do this and they will do this. And in the long run, you think, what can boo-free do for us? Well, for starters, it means that we can produce milk without the allergens in it that come from lactose. Well, we can already do that. So what's more important is that we can change the production process. So right now, hundreds of millions of grain is wasted, pounds of grain is wasted going towards dairy production right now as it's given to cows. If you might not be aware, we produce enough food as a society to feed the entire nation and the entire world numerous times over just from food waste that we produce. And if you think about the food that's given towards dairy production, and we can take this and channel it towards people, we can really do some great things for the world and change the lives of multiple people around the world who suffer from not having enough food on a regular basis. In addition to this, we can cut down on water waste that goes into dairy production as well, because hundreds of millions of gallons of water are wasted on a regular basis due to milk production as it stands. If any of you are from California, you think about this, California is going through an extreme drought. If you can divert the water from milk production, from dairy production, into other human needs and agricultural needs, then we can really start changing maybe the way that the drought impacts a state like California as it stands. And lastly, we can remove the inhumane production process of requiring milk, which now harms cows as they are mistreated, physically mutilated, and caged. So therefore, producing this new form of milk means that we not only make a better product for cows and for the environment, but we also make a cheaper and safer product for ourselves. Speaking of ourselves, this is a little bit aside, but something that I thought was pretty cool from the founders of the company. They think that the future of this milk production is actually going to be in home brewing. So this is a picture of a home brewing kit for beer, because that is something that's been really trendy as of late in the country. But the founders of the company think that in the future, we'll be doing the same thing with milk, which means that you can not only have craft milk, whatever that will mean in the future in your own room, but you'll also make yourself more self-sufficient, which means you help negate more of the environmental impact that we have as a society on the world. But at the end of the day, what I'm really asking you to do isn't to go out and buy all the GMO products that you hear and see, or to really embrace them as better than other alternatives. What I do ask is that you think again, and that the next time you hear about biotechnology and food, you keep an open mind. Because there are products out there that are going to be emerging on the market that might seem odd and unappealing at first, but they are real solutions to some of the issues that we face as a world, as a global society. And Boo-Free has a great product that can change this. So what I urge you to do is change the way that we think, change the way that we drink, and change the world together by embracing biotechnology and food. Thank you.